Hey everyone. So, the topic for this lesson is sometimes you have to roll around in the mud so that you know why you don't want to roll around in the mud. Sometimes you need to roll around in the mud so you know why you don't roll around in the mud. And that probably is as clunky of a statement as I've said since I've started this channel. But I don't know of a better way to describe it because when you say I'm rolling around in the mud, it's like, okay, I'm rolling around in the mud. I'm getting dirty. I'm possibly getting sick. I'm possibly getting injured. I might be setting myself backwards. You're saying, okay, I'm rolling around in the mud. Okay. And you say, well, what value comes from that? What purpose comes from that? What meaning comes from that? And I think it's very easy to find that value. I don't think you have to try hard with this one. I think it's abundantly clear. So if you say I'm rolling around in the mud, and it's not necessarily because I want to, but it's because I'm trying to get something done and I'm just having a really hard time. And you say that I don't really want to be rolling around in the mud. I actually want to get this done. But you're rolling in the mud. And what you do is in that moment, you say, okay, wait a minute. Let me really process this. Let me really come to terms with this mud I'm rolling in. Let me really figure this out. Don't just say, I want to get to a hose. That's too easy. You have to tell yourself and you have to convince yourself to say, okay, I am doing this right now, and it's not the best situation for me. I'm getting dirty. I might be getting sick. I might be getting hurt. I might be wasting time. I might be wasting money. So you need to really examine that and say, how did I get here? What decisions did I take to get here? What assumptions brought me here? What framework brought me here? Because you might have started that process. You might have started that process. You had zero intention of getting in the mud that day. You honestly thought you were going to be just fine. You thought maybe, okay, I might be getting a little sweaty. I might be getting a little tired, but that's about it. I'm going to get that task done. I'm going to get that process done. But you ended up rolling in the mud that day. And you're not going to chalk it up to bad luck either. You're saying, wait a minute, it was that sequence of events that I purposely took that led me here. And then you also have to deal with the repercussions of that. To say that sequence of events got me dirty, which then got me sick or got me tired or got me off my path or got me off my schedule. Then you say, okay, so we're off schedule, we're off task, we're off budget. Okay, then what? Well, you need to figure out why you thought that was a good idea in the first place. And you need to honestly look at yourself and say, do I need to try that again? Because that's where it got me. Because if you say, I leave the house with 5 minutes to spare, now I'm clocking in late for work. If you say, I have $5 extra every month for my food, you might not have enough money for food that month. So you need to adjust and you need to say, wait a minute. That's not giving me enough bandwidth. That's not giving me enough time to get to work. That's not giving me enough time to buy my food. Or maybe you thought it was just fine giving yourself that much bandwidth. And then you see how it hurts you. You see how it sets you back. You could say, okay, I definitely don't want to do that again. So we can take a homework example and say something like, okay, I'm going to wait till the night before the assignment's due. You're going to be struggling. You're going to be in a lot of pain during that entire process, and you're probably not going to get a good grade. You're probably not going to get a good grade. So then you can say, okay, now, yeah, that misery and pain wasn't worth it. I'm not going to wait till the night before again. I'm going to give myself some time. I'm going to start it when I need to start it, not when I want to start it. So it's a lot of different things happening all at once, but you need to really look at yourself and say, okay, how did I get in this mud? And then you really need to just really absorb and say, man, these are the consequences of me being in that mud. These are the outcomes of that. And you need to just say, number one, I don't want to deal with those negative consequences, right? I don't want to be that tired. I don't want to be that pissed off. I don't want to get that poor of a result. But then you also need to look at yourself and say, okay, what series of events got me to that? You might have to really, truly turn around how you look at things. And you might have to turn things around so much that you're probably doing things you never considered. And that's what it may take. You may have to do a complete adjustment. You may have to do a complete 180 on how you look at things and how you approach things. Because if the only way you've ever known is waiting till the night before, you have to say, okay, I don't want to do this no more. I want something different. I want something better, right? And that may take a lot of adjusting, which will be good in your long-term growth and development, but it might be a little scary at first. But to sum it up, is when you're rolling around in the mud, you're truly appreciating, comprehending what that does to you, what the consequences are of that. But then you're also going to take a look at what got you to that point and why you thought those actions, those decisions would be good. Maybe you didn't see a problem with rolling in the mud. Maybe you didn't think you would end up in the mud. It doesn't matter. It got you there, and you need to own that and accept that. And you need to learn from that. You absolutely have to learn from that. Otherwise, you're just going to keep making the same decisions and same mistakes over and over again. And I don't want you to not make mistakes. I think making mistakes is very good. I think making mistakes is a great way to get you closer to what works because you eliminate possibilities. But at the same time, I don't want you to keep making the same mistake over and over again just because you're not allowing yourself to consider something else. That doesn't help you. That does not help you. So just to kind of wrap this up, the phrase is you roll around in the mud so that you understand why you don't want to roll around in the mud. It's because you say, okay, these are the negative outcomes that present themselves when I'm rolling around in the mud, and then these are the decisions that actually got me to that point. Regardless of that was my intention or not. Those are the decisions that got me to that point. And in my experience, when you've had enough of that, when you've had enough of the mud, you've had enough of the heartache, when you've had enough of the misery, at least in that realm, then you're in a position to say, okay, let me try to find something better now. Let me find a different way to go about this. Let me see if I can make this easier. Maybe there's a whole new way I wasn't considering. And if some of you are saying, Jonathan, that's all well and good, but I haven't considered anything else, I would encourage you to allow yourself to explore. It's actually not going to be as bad as you think. When you allow yourself to truly explore and truly try, and you say, okay, you know what? Let me just keep an open mind. Let me keep an open heart. Let me keep an open set of hands. Let me just try. You would honestly be surprised how much you can get done. There has been a lot in my life that I for certain thought I needed that I do not need anymore. There was a lot in my life that I thought I could never do, and I do them every day now. So I would highly encourage you, give yourself the benefit of the doubt. Prove yourself wrong. Prove me wrong. If you give yourself just a little extra space, if you give yourself a little extra room to try something new, to try something different, it's probably not going to be that first thing you try. It's probably not going to be. But if you keep trying and you figure out what works and what doesn't work, you would honestly be pleasantly surprised with how far you came and how far you can go. And I'm not saying that just to tell you to step outside your comfort zone for the sake of stepping outside your comfort zone. I'm telling you this because it's impacted my life and it's made my life easier in a way. And if anything, it's proven how resilient I can be, which is a term I probably never thought I could ever own. But here we are. So, like I said, you roll around in the mud so that you understand why you don't want to roll around in the mud. All right, guys, see ya.